Welcome to the Pro Ticker Deep Dive.
It is fantastic to be back.
Yeah, we've got a really massive one today.
Mm.
You're not just talking about a new gadget or a new software update. We're talking about a fundamental shift in the way the world goes to work. Because it's February 2026, and honestly, it feels like the ground is just shifting completely under our feet.
It really is. I mean, if you look at the last 2 or 3 years, so 2023, 2024, even most of 2025,
Yeah.
that was the era of the chatbot.
Right.
It was the era of novelty. You'd open up a window, you'd ask for a recipe, maybe you'd ask it to draft a polite email to your landlord.
Right. A tool.
Exactly. It was a tool you picked up and you put down.
It was chatting.
It was chatting. But what we are seeing right now, specifically with the launch of OpenAI's Frontier platform
Yeah.
and the formation of this massive Frontier alliance, it's the end of the chat era and the beginning of the agent era.
Right.
We aren't chatting with bots anymore. We are hiring them.
We're hiring them. That distinction right there between chatting and hiring, that is what I really want to drill down into today.
Yeah.
Because the headlines are just screaming about this.
Oh, yeah.
We have traditional consulting firms looking over their shoulders. We have massive software stocks taking a nosedive. And we have what looks like a genuine arms race for computing power.
The stakes couldn't be higher. I mean, this isn't just about making things a little faster. This is an attempt to bridge what analysts are calling the AI value chasm.
The AI value chasm.
Yeah.
Let's pause on that for a second because that sounds very dramatic. But what does it actually mean for a business?
Okay, think about it like this. For the last 2 years, every CEO has stood on a stage and said, you know, we are an AI-first company.
Right, of course.
They've shown the cool demos, they've generated the funny images.
Yeah.
But if you look at their P&L, their profit and loss statement, you don't see the value yet.
You just see the server bills.
Exactly. You see the cost of the AI, sure. But where is the return? Where is the reliable business value? That gap between the magic trick and the money, that is the value chasm.
So we've had the party tricks and now the bill is due. And companies realizing they don't actually know how to make this stuff work for a living.
Precisely. And that is why this new platform frontier is such a big deal. It is the industry's attempt to build a bridge over that chasm.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with Frontier itself. Because I think a reasonable person or, a skeptical listener who's tuning in might say, wait a minute, I have ChatGPT Enterprise.
Yeah.
I have Microsoft Copilot. Why do we need another platform? Is this just marketing fluff?
It's a totally valid question. But to understand why Frontier exists, you really have to understand the specific type of hell that IT departments have been living in for the last 18 months. We call it pilot purgatory.
Pilot purgatory. Sounds painful.
It is exhausting. Imagine you are the CIO of a Fortune 500 company.
Oh.
You have 50 different departments. Marketing, HR, finance, legal, and every single one of them has run a pilot program with AI.
Oh, I see. Like, let's use AI to summarize legal briefs.
Right. Or let's use AI to write ad copy.
Sounds productive on paper.
It sounds productive, but none of it scales. You have these little islands of innovation that just don't talk to each other. And worse, they are dangerous.
Dangerous how?
Because the AI doesn't know who it is working for. This is the core problem. Current AI tools lack shared business context.
Break that down for me. What is shared business context in plain English?
Let's use an analogy. Imagine you hire a brilliant intern. This kid has a PhD. They have read every book in the library. They are incredibly smart.
It sounds like a great hire.
Right. But they have never set foot in your office before today. They haven't read the employee handbook. They don't have a login to the server. They don't know that when the VP of sales says the deck, she means the PowerPoint for next week, not the patio outside.
So they are a genius,
Yeah.
but they are totally useless because they don't know the local language of the company.
Exactly. Every time you want them to do something, you have to sit down and explain the entire universe to them.
Here is who we are. Here's our tone of voice. Here's where the files are kept.
Yes. You spend more time explaining the job than it would take to just do it yourself. And that is exactly where we have been with LLMs. They are brilliant outsiders.
And Frontier is trying to make them insiders?
Yes. Frontier is defined as an enterprise platform for AI agents. Its entire job is to take that brilliant intern, give them a security badge, give them a laptop with access to the company drive, and make them read the handbook.
So basically the ultimate onboarding process for an AI.
Ideally, yes. And it does this through a few very specific technical layers. The most critical one is the context layer.
The context layer. Yeah, I wanted to ask about this because this seems to be the real secret sauce here.
It is. The context layer is the plumbing. It connects the AI to your siloed systems, your data warehouse, your CRM like Salesforce, your ticketing system like Jira, your internal wiki.
So instead of me pasting a document into a chat window manually, the AI just has access to it natively.
Well, it has access to the meaning of it. It creates a semantic layer. Let me give you a real-world example here.
Please.
If you ask a generic AI, what was our revenue last month, it might hallucinate. Or it might just say, I don't have access to that information.
Right. It gives you the standard canned response.
But if you ask a frontier agent with the context layer installed, it knows that revenue for your specific company means booked sales minus returns, recognized only after the product ships.
Wow.
It knows to look in the Salesforce closed won column, cross-reference it with the Oracle shipping log, and give you the actual number. It grounds the AI in the reality of your business rules.
That's a massive difference.
Yeah.
That shifts it completely from a creative writing tool to a real business intelligence tool.
Exactly. And coupled with that is the concept of agent identity.
Which sounds a little sci-fi, I have to admit. Agent identity?
Yeah.
We giving them names?
We are giving them badges. In the corporate world, identity is everything. It is about permissions. Right now, if you use ChatGPT, you are the user. If the bot says something crazy, it's on you.
It's my login.
Right. But on Frontier, the agent has its own identity. It has permissions, IAM, or identity and access management, just like an employee.
So you can ring fence what it can do.
You can say Agent Smith is allowed to view the HR database, but Agent Jones is not.
And I assume this is just absolutely critical for auditing.
It is the only way you get compliance. I mean, if you are a bank, you can't have an anonymous algorithm moving money around. You need an audit trail.
Agent Smith accessed account X at 2:00 p.m. and authorized to transfer.
Precisely. If you can't audit it, you can't use it for mission-critical work. Frontier solves that black box problem.
That makes total sense.
Yes.
It turns the AI from a ghost in the machine into an employee with a paper trail. Now, there's another piece of this Frontier rollout that I found really interesting and, frankly, a little aggressive. OpenAI isn't just selling this software and hoping for the best. They are using something called forward-deployed engineers.
FDEs. Yeah.
Now, I know that term. That is straight out of the Palantir playbook.
It is. Palantir made billions with this exact model. The idea is simple. Enterprise software is hard. It is messy. If you just email the download link to a Fortune 500 company, they will fail.
They will get stuck in IT review for 6 months.
Or 12. So what does the FDE do?
Right. What's their role?
The FTE is an elite engineer from OpenAI who literally or virtually parachutes into the client's company. They sit with your team, they write the code, they set up the context layer, they build the first agents.
So OpenAI is basically saying, we don't trust you to build this fast enough, so we are just going to build it for you.
They are saying we are going to bridge the implementation gap ourselves. They are realizing that the bottleneck isn't the technology anymore, it's the sociology. It's the inertia of big companies.
Bureaucracy.
The FTEs are there to break through the inertia. The goal is to shift the company from using AI as a tool like a calculator to actually running on AI.
That is a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
And it brings us directly to the next big topic, the Frontier Alliance. Because OpenAI sending in their own engineers, that has to ruffle some feathers in the consulting world.
Ruffle feathers is putting it mildly. It is an existential crisis wrapped in a partnership.
Let's look at the players here. We are talking about the Big Four and the major strategy firms. Accenture, Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey, Capgemini, they have all signed up for this alliance.
They have. And on the surface, it looks like a really happy marriage. OpenAI is a tech company. They have maybe a few thousand employees. Accenture has hundreds of thousands.
Right.
OpenAI needs bodies to handle the change management.
Because you can install the software, but you still have to train the humans to stop doing things the old way.
Exactly. That is the people side of the equation, and that is what consultants do best. Workshops, training, organizational restructuring, that is the bread and butter of the Big Four.
And I assume the consultants are seeing massive dollar signs here.
Oh, massive. Accenture alone committed $3 billion to its data and AI practice. They are betting the farm on this. They know their clients are desperate for AI solutions, and they want to be the ones selling the roadmap.
But here is where I get skeptical. You mentioned the FDEs earlier. The OpenAI engineers physically building the system.
Yeah.
If I'm a client and OpenAI is building the system for me, Why do I need McKinsey?
That is the frenemy tension. It is the conflict of the century right now. Look at the business models. How does a firm like Accenture or McKinsey actually make money?
They bill for time, the billable hour.
Correct. They
But
sell time. The longer a project takes, the more complex it is, the more slides they have to build, the more money they make. It is literally in their financial interest for the problem to be complicated.
right.
But OpenAI's model and the goal of these FDEs is AI as a service.
Yeah.
It is outcome-based. They want to get the system running in 3 weeks, not 3 years.
So there is a complete misalignment of incentives there.
A massive one. If an OpenAI engineer can come in and deploy an agent that automates a workflow in a month, what happens to the consulting team that planned to spend 6 months just assessing that workflow?
They lose 5 months of billing.
We call that margin erosion. And it is terrifying for the partners at these firms. The FDEs can deliver in weeks what used to take quarters. The lucrative strategy deck, the 200-page PowerPoint that costs $2 million, it's losing its value because companies don't want a deck anymore. They want code.
It sounds like the consulting firms are being pushed down the food chain.
They are being commoditized. The insight here is that the consulting firms are at risk of becoming mere auditors and compliance checkers.
Did the AI do the job legally?
Right. Is the data governance correct? That is important work, sure, but it is not the sexy high-value strategy work. The tech companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, they are becoming the true architects of business strategy.
Because the strategy is written in the code.
Precisely. If the AI determines how your supply chain runs, then the AI provider is your supply chain consultant. McKinsey just checks the math.
Wow. That is a tough pill to swallow for a legacy industry. But if the consultants are nervous, the software vendors seem to be in full-blown panic mode. We saw some serious movement in the stock market after the Frontier announcement.
We did. We saw stocks like Salesforce, Workday, Thomson Reuters take a hit. And this brings us to a concept that I think every listener really needs to understand because it explains the future of the economy. It is the seat license crisis.
Okay, let's break this down. Seat license.
Ah!
It sounds boring, but it's basically how the entire software industry makes money.
It is the SaaS business model, software as a service. It has been the golden goose for 20 years.
Yeah.
The model is simple. You pay a monthly fee for every human who needs to log in.
Right, $150 a month for a Salesforce seat. If I have 1,000 salespeople, I pay for 1,000 seats.
Simple math, predictable revenue. Wall Street absolutely loves it. But enter the agent era. We are moving toward outcome-based computing. Imagine you hire a Frontier agent to handle your invoice processing. That agent doesn't need a graphical user interface. It doesn't need colorful buttons or a dashboard.
Right.
It just needs an API connection. It does the work in the background.
So it doesn't need a seat.
It doesn't need a seat. And if that agent is doing the work of 5 humans, do you still need those 5 humans to have seats?
Probably not. Or at least you need fewer of them.
Exactly. If an AI agent does the work, the seat concept just evaporates. 40% of IT buyers are already saying they are looking to reduce seat licenses to cut costs.
That is a staggering number, 40%.
It is, and it creates a huge conflict for the software vendors.
Yeah.
If companies start building bespoke AI agents on Frontier to handle their workflows, they might just stop buying the expensive prepackaged software suites.
It's the classic build versus buy debate, but AI has totally changed the math.
Completely. In the past, building your own software was expensive and slow, so you bought Salesforce. But now with AI, building is cheap and fast. You can tell Frontier, build me an agent that tracks my sales leads, and it might do it for a fraction of the cost of a Salesforce contract.
So Salesforce isn't just competing with other software companies anymore. They're competing with their own customers who are building their own tools.
That is the danger zone. Now, to be fair, there is a counter-argument to this. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, he has been very vocal about this.
He usually sees around corners. What is his take?
He argues that companies won't just rip out everything. He thinks this is additive. He says you won't fire the human, you will just make the human 10 times more productive. So you will still need the seat, but the person in the seat will be a super employee.
So instead of one person managing 10 accounts, they manage 100 accounts.
Right. But even then, do you need as many employees overall? The math is fuzzy. And that fuzziness is why the stocks are taking a hit. Investors hate uncertainty, and the SaaS golden age looks a little uncertain right now.
It feels like we are moving from a world where software was a tool for humans to use to a world where software is the worker.
That is the shift. We are moving from computer-aided design to computer-generated design, from word processing to word generation.
And that brings us to the other side of this war.
Yeah.
Because while OpenAI and Microsoft are pushing this frontier vision, they aren't the only game in town. In fact, some of the data out there suggests they might not even be the favorite.
This was the biggest surprise for me, honestly, the counterstrike from Anthropic and Google.
I think the general public assumes OpenAI is just winning everything. They have the brand recognition. ChatGPT is a household name.
It is the Kleenex of AI.
Right.
But in the enterprise, in the back offices of the banks and the hospitals, the story is very different. By late 2025, the data shows Anthropic had actually captured more enterprise market share, 32%, compared to OpenAI's 25%.
That is a shocker. Why is the underdog beating the celebrity in the corporate world?
It comes down to philosophy. You have to understand the mindset of a corporate risk officer.
The person whose entire job it is to say no.
Exactly. They are terrified of black boxes. They are terrified of a model that hallucinates or insults a customer. Anthropic has built their entire brand around safety and constitutional AI.
Constitutional AI. What does that actually mean in practice?
Yes, so they train the model with a specific constitution, a set of rules and principles that it cannot violate. It isn't just a surface level don't be mean, it's deep structural safety guardrails built into the model itself.
So it's the difference between a Ferrari and a Volvo.
That is the perfect analogy. OpenAI is the Ferrari. It's fast, it's sexy, it makes headlines. But if you are a bank managing people's 401ks or a hospital managing patient data, you don't want a Ferrari. You want the Volvo.
You want the 5-star crash rating.
You want the Volvo of AI. And Anthropic is the Volvo.
And in the corporate world, safety sells.
Safety scales. You can deploy a Volvo fleet. You hesitate to deploy a Ferrari fleet.
But it's not just about the models, right? It's about who they are partnering with. We talked about the Frontier Alliance being OpenAI and Microsoft. Who is backing Anthropic?
This is where the federation strategy comes in. OpenAI is very vertical. It's a closed loop with Microsoft. If you use OpenAI, you are pretty much living in the Azure cloud ecosystem.
Which is fine if you love Microsoft, but not everyone does.
Exactly. Anthropic is playing the Switzerland card. They are cloud agnostic. You can use Anthropic on Amazon AWS. You can use it on Google Cloud. They aren't locking you into one infrastructure.
Speaking of Google, this partnership is fascinating to me. Google has its own model, Gemini. They have spent billions on it. Why on earth are they investing in Anthropic, their direct competitor?
It's the classic, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Who is Google's biggest enemy?
Microsoft.
Microsoft. Google is terrified of Microsoft dominating the enterprise cloud, so even though they have Gemini, they're totally willing to power Claude Anthropic's model to ensure that the compute workload stays on Google Cloud and not Azure.
It's an infrastructure play. They don't actually care which model you use as long as you rent their servers to run it.
100%. And the deal they cut to make this happen involves some staggering hardware. Google opened up its TPUs, tensor processing units, to Anthropic.
Why does that matter? All I ever hear about is NVIDIA GPUs. Everyone is fighting for H100s.
That is exactly why it matters. The entire world is fighting for NVIDIA chips. There is a shortage. There is a markup, the NVIDIA tax. By using Google's TPUs, Anthropic gets a dedicated fast lane. They completely bypass the traffic jam.
And the scale of this deal, I saw a number that made my jaw drop. 1 gigawatt.
1 gigawatt of computing capacity by 2026.
Put that in perspective for me. What is a gigawatt?
A gigawatt it's back to the future. It's enough power to run a city the size of San Francisco. It is roughly what a nuclear reactor produces.
Out there building a digital nuclear reactor just to run these models.
Essentially, yes. We are talking about data centers that consume as much power as small nations. That is the scale of the bet here.
So we have two massive camps forming. OpenAI and Frontier, which is aggressive, agent-focused, the universal worker, tied tightly to Microsoft. And then Anthropic and Google, the Federation, safety-focused, deep reasoning, cloud agnostic.
It is the battle for the enterprise soul.
I want to pivot slightly to the people who are actually building this stuff, the developers. Because the way code is written has changed just as much as the business side of things.
Oh, absolutely. We are seeing the massive rise of agentic coding.
Agentic coding. What does that actually look like day to day for a software engineer?
Well, go back 2 years. A developer sat at a keyboard and typed code. Maybe they used Google or Stack Overflow to look up a solution. Today, a developer isn't a typist, they are a director. They're directing an AI to write the code.
And the tools themselves are fighting it out, too.
Yeah.
We have GitHub Copilot, which is the incumbent.
Right, owned by Microsoft and OpenAI. But then there's this newcomer, Cursor. Have you heard of Cursor?
I've seen it mentioned constantly. It seems like it has a cult following among coders.
It really does. They hit $1 billion in annual recurring revenue ARR in record time. And the reason is fascinating. It goes right back to that federation idea we were just talking about.
How so?
Developers hate being locked in. GitHub Copilot basically forces you to use OpenAI models. But Cursor is multi-model.
So I can choose my brain.
Exactly. You can be in the middle of a coding session and say, hey, use Claude 3.5 for this complex logic because it's better at deep reasoning.
Yeah.
But use GPT-4o for this quick function because it's faster.
That is so powerful and allows the developer to arbitrage the intelligence of the different models on the fly.
It creates a flow state. Developers say it feels like coding with a superpower. You don't get stuck. If one model fails, you just switch to the other. It is the Switzerland of coding tools.
But doesn't this create a massive mess underneath? I mean, if you have all these different models, OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, you have all these different data sources,
Right.
like Salesforce, Oracle, Slack. Connect them all seems like a total nightmare.
It is the N times M problem.
Right.
If you have N number of AI models and M number of data sources, you have to build a custom bridge for every single combination. It is spaghetti code. It is completely unmaintainable.
So how do we fix it? How is the industry solving the N times M problem?
The solution is something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP.
MCP, let's dig into that.
Think of it like the USB port. Before USB, do you remember how it was? You had a different plug for your mouse, your printer, your keyboard, your digital camera. It was a nightmare.
I remember the giant parallel ports.
Yes. USB standardized it, one plug for everything. MCP is the USD port for AI agents.
So I build one connector to my database.
And then any agent, whether it's Claude or GPT or Gemini, can plug right into that connector and understand the data.
That seems absolutely crucial because without that standard, the whole agent economy is just a fragmented mess.
It stalls out completely. MCP is the boring, unsexy infrastructure standard that actually allows the revolution to happen. And what's interesting is it was pushed by Anthropic, but OpenAI has adopted it too. That tells you how necessary it is.
Okay, so we have the platforms, we have the alliances, the hardware, and the developer tools. It sounds like a rocket ship taking off. But we need to talk about the fuel, the money.
The valuations are getting scary.
OpenAI's valuation is hovering around $500 billion, $500 billion.
It is a number that is just hard to comprehend.
Is this a bubble? I mean, we have to ask, are we looking at 1999 all over again?
There is a very strong forensic bear case here.
Yeah.
If you look at the fundamentals, it is shaky.
Let's play the bear then. Why does this collapse?
First, profitability. OpenAI is still losing money. Operating losses are projected all the way until 2029. They are burning cash to build these models and acquire that massive compute we talked about.
$500 billion for a company that might not turn a profit for 3 more years. That is a lot of faith.
It is priced for absolute perfection. But the bigger risk, the one that really keeps CFOs up at night, is the infrastructure burn.
The depreciation of the hardware.
Exactly. We talked about that 1 gigawatt of chips.
Yep.
Billions and billions of dollars in hardware. Here is the problem. AI chips improve so fast that the old ones become worthless incredibly quickly.
That's like buying a laptop, walking out of the store, and it's already obsolete.
Exactly. But imagine buying $10 billion worth of laptops. A cluster of H100s bought today is old news by 2028. It is a depreciating asset that just rots on your balance sheet.
So they have to make enough money to pay back the hardware investment before the hardware becomes literal trash.
Correct. And if they don't, massive write-downs. We are talking about holes in the balance sheet the size of small countries.
That is a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned concentration risk earlier.
Right. OpenAI is all in on Microsoft Azure. If that relationship sours, and we have seen tech partnerships sour before, or if regulators step in and say this is a monopoly, break it up, OpenAI is in trouble. They don't have a backup cloud.
Unlike Anthropic, who is spreading their bets across everyone.
Exactly. Anthropic is diversified. OpenAI is concentrated. High risk, high reward.
So let's try to bring this all together for you, the listener. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We are witnessing a fundamental split in the tech world.
We are. On one side, you have the centralized OS model. OpenAI, Microsoft, and the consulting army. They want to be the Windows of AI. One platform, one way of doing things, deeply, deeply integrated.
And on the other side,
The Federation. Anthropic, Google, Amazon. A diverse, multi-cloud, safety-first approach. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
so for the listener who is tuning in, if you are a mid-level manager or you run a department, what do you actually do with this information?
The era of playing is over. That was the last 2 years. The next year is all about integration.
Meaning?
Meaning, stop looking for the magic chatbots. Start looking at your data. If you want to hire these agents, you have to be ready for them.
So you need to clean up the house.
Exactly. The question isn't which model is smarter. The question is my data structured in a way that any agent can actually understand it? If your data is a mess, the smartest AI in the world is totally useless. It's like hiring that genius intern we talked about and throwing them into a room full of shredded paper.
That is great practical advice. Clean data is the prerequisite for AI agents.
It is the unsexy work that unlocks the magic.
I want to leave everyone with a final provocative thought, something we touched on briefly with the seat license crisis, but I think it goes much deeper than just software pricing.
Go for it.
As we watch companies build these digital coworkers and we move to this outcome-based computing where we pay for the result and not the human doing the work, what happens to the entry-level jobs?
That is the big societal question, isn't it?
Think about it. Traditionally, the entry-level job, the junior analyst, the junior coder, the junior paralegal, that was the training ground. You did the grunt work. You summarized the documents. You wrote the basic code. And by doing that boring work, you learned how the world worked.
You learned by osmosis. You learned the context of the business.
Exactly. But if the AI agent does all the grunt work, if the AI summarizes the documents and writes the basic code, where do the future experts come from?
It is the apprenticeship gap.
If we automate the entire bottom rung of the ladder, how does anyone ever climb to the top?
It is a terrifying possibility. We might be creating a barbell economy. Highly paid experts at the very top, AI at the bottom, and no bridge in between.
Companies need to think very hard about how they train the next generation of human leaders when the training tasks are done by bots. Because if they don't, in 10 years, there won't be anyone left who knows how the machine actually works.
And that is a risk that no amount of GPU power can solve.
Something to mull over on your commute. On that note, thank you for listening to the Pro Ticker Deep Dive. We will catch you on the next one.